Okay, I think this is on. If I can get this working here. Okay, so um, connecting with millennials. Millennials make up the biggest population of the workforce today, and it's very important if you're selling a product or building a business, trying to grow really anything in the consumer space. You need to harness the power of millennials. They're very important, and they will continue to be for a very long time. Yeah, like I said, they're the largest group in the workforce. Right now, they're just coming up through the ranks and really taking hold of positions at companies that make a difference. They're becoming CEOs. They're becoming head sales reps. They're becoming innovators. So yeah, they're really being able to guide the ships, if you will, of the companies. And yeah, they're really leading companies where they're going. So it's important to be able to harness them. They're also being the face of companies, as a lot of millennials are purchasers of products. They're also, of course, companies want millennials to be the face of products. So millennials can obviously be selling to their own kind. So yeah, this is a good infographic I found on the internet. It's kind of interesting. Of course, millennials, everyone knows that they're all about technology. As you can see, millennials most always do all of their shopping on some sort of internet device, whether it be a laptop or an iPad or a mobile device, which a lot of people, that's what they do nowadays. It's all mobile. So yeah, if your business is very important to grasp the internet and use that. Millennials all are great multitaskers. In fact, they almost tend to have some paralysis when multitasking because they try to do too much. It's kind of interesting psychology. One cool thing that I'll get to later on, it says it here in this infographic though, is how they're motivated. Millennials are different than a lot of Generation Xers in that they're motivated by things other than money and status. But yeah, I'll get to that later. And then yeah, those are the years that make up the millennials down there in the right-hand corner. What they do online is just about everybody does email and does social media and does news and music. So nothing new there. So like I was saying, millennials are very technology centered. They always have their phone in their hand, or they're always reading on their Nooks, or they're always on the internet. So that is very important to grasp when working with millennials. They are hardworking. A lot of people, at least I've heard a lot of people say that millennials are lazy. I don't think that's necessarily true. The linear work, the linear line of work that we've seen in America since the early 1900s is changing. Our whole economy is changing. So I think that the millennials are the first generation that really are having to deal with that massive change, and it's harder to save money. It's harder to do a lot of these economical things that America has been built on. So I don't think it's just laziness. I think it's they're trying to figure out how to operate in America. Transparency and creativity. Millennials like to know exactly who they're talking with, and they don't like a lot of smoke and mirror stuff, which is a little bit interesting. They're also very creative. I think millennials take pride in being creative because they like to feel unique. They like to feel like their work is very important. Game is changing. Startups and tech companies have paved the way for millennials thinking to take over. A lot of startups, especially in the technology space, millennials are running these companies, so millennials are going to be the face and names. And millennials have, like I just said in the previous slide, they have a different work ethic. They like to have fun at work. They're not bound to the, usual 9 to 5 that a lot of companies are kind of stuck in. They like to break some boundaries. So, yeah, that's kind of the changing. I think it's going to be the changing landscape of the business environment. Is, lot weird hours, working from home, interesting corporate, games and all different kinds of stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see where big companies that have been around for many, many, many years, how they embrace these millennials. I'm going to get a drink real fast. So to try to harness the power of millennials, these companies that have been around a long time do need to change a little bit, I think. I think how millennials are managed can really affect how productive they are and what kind of product that they produce. So millennials do need a sense of purpose. They need to feel like they're doing good in the world. They need to feel like they're affecting people in a positive manner in order to feel success. Which is kind of a selfishness, because I want to feel good for doing things, but it is kind of a selflessness as well. It's kind of a weird duality thing. So yeah, selfish and selfless at the same time. It's interesting little microcosm. But yeah, like I said, most millennials don't respond to the classic 9 to 5. They want to work when they want to work, and yeah, goals and quotas are very good for them as well. Give them something that they can reach toward, something to strive toward. And collaboration. Collaboration is very important for millennials, I believe, because they do like to work with peers. They like to talk and communicate on social media and do things collaboratively because it sparks their creativity, and creativity is very important for millennials. So yeah. So this is really the main chunk of what I was interested in and why I wanted to do the project on millennials was motivation. I work in a company that hires a lot of millennials, and I, being a millennial myself, but I think I connect with Generation Xers more than millennials. But anyway, yeah, we're having an interesting change in how we communicate with this generation, because they don't respond to a lot of the tactics that the Gen Xers have put in place to motivate the employees. So yeah, that's kind of the interesting talk that's going on at my workplace right now. But companies must find out what motivates each millennial. For instance, unlike a bonus that might be given to a whole department, that might not motivate a sales team made up of millennials anymore. So what does each person, each unique person, what do they value? Where do they want to go? What do they want to get? How do we motivate them for each person? Because, like I said, everybody wants to feel unique, and they all have their different goals. And so, yeah, how do we find in each millennial what they want? And that can be kind of hard. So an overarching theme, though, is progression. Millennials do want to feel like they're getting somewhere. They want to feel like they're getting the next title or the next pay grade or the next this or that. They're getting to the top of the list. Lists are all the rage these days with the BuzzFeed lists and the list and this. So they want to be at the top. They want to be the best, which is great. Work-life balance. This is one of the main things that we're realizing is work-life balance. It's very, very important. Millennials, if they do feel like they've been working too much, they will clock out even when they're at the job. You know what I mean? They just kind of they could just kind of get done. If they feel like they're being overworked in something that they don't have, their own motivation for, they're not really enjoying it, they do tend to clock out. So work-life balance is very important. Giving them feedback is important as well. It's usually, your intuition tells you, okay, well, feedback is kind of your own job, your own personal job. You can gauge how you're doing. Maybe ask your boss. and your boss will tell you. But that doesn't really work with millennials because uh, they tend to get stuck, I think, when they're not being given constant feedback. They tend to kind of get stuck in a rut and don't really know what to do. They don't really know how to make um, good decisions, which is, I think, one of the negatives about millennials is they're not very good decision makers. Um, but yeah, they need to be given feedback and need to be pointed in the right direction. They also need to feel respected. Millennials definitely need to feel respected. Uh, they they need to feel like they're on par with everybody in the office. They need to feel like they're doing good, doing well rather. Not good. Um, Nobody's on top of them. Nobody's underneath them. Everybody's just kind of on the same page, working together. And then higher with their interests. Obviously, millennials like to do stuff, like I said, that they like to do. So um, higher with what they want. This is another cool infographic I found, just about how millennials really what they do every day. Um, so it says millennials' work hours are rising. 47% of millennials say hours have increased in the last 5 years. So millennials are being pushed. But, work hours rising, not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing. We just have to figure out how to make the hours fit into the millennial schedule. Like I said, the 9 to 5s those are being evaporated. 9 to 5 jobs eventually, I think, are going to go wayward. So yeah, there's some other interesting facts. This one's not as interesting as the first infographic, but yeah, the one interesting thing about this is right in the middle, number 2, champion flexibility for all. 74% of millennials want colleagues and supervisors who support their being able to work flexibly. So yeah, that is very important. Okay, so how to connect to make a sale. So how do you connect with a millennial? When communicating, don't be too pushy. Millennials don't like to feel pushed. They like to feel like they have the power and they're making the decision rather than they're being sold. So really have that personal relationship with millennials is very important. Be funny. Millennials like they like to have a good time, I guess, more or less, but they like to enjoy work. Constant communication, email, social media, phone calls, text message. They like to always be in the know, and that's very important if you want to keep a personal selling relationship. Being authentic, no Wizard of Oz. They don't like people hiding behind curtains, so that's definitely important. Keep the long messages short. The other day, I was talking to, I'm in the restaurant industry, and I'm a manager, and we had a manager meeting, and we were all talking at the meeting, and one of our servers walked up, and we were talking to her about some different things that we were saying in the meeting, and one of the other managers, who's kind of long-winded, and she can talk, and she can talk, and she can talk, and so she was going on about this new policy they were implementing, and she was telling Kelsey, on and on and on about this policy, and by the end of it, Kelsey was just staring at her, and like, I knew that she didn't get any of it. She just wasn't listening. She went on and on for too long. She toned out. So I had to say, Kelsey, what did Barbara just say? And she's, I don't know. I have no idea. So getting short, to the point, and end of conversation is very important with millennials. Just get it out, get it over with. Being transparent, again, very important. That's like I would have just said. Conform to their own unique setting. So millennials like to feel like you're coming to them. Like, again, they're the boss. You're in their wheelhouse the whole time. Listening is very important as well. Millennials need to be heard. Don't cloud everything up with numbers. Millennials like to feel like they're doing good in the world, like I said before. So making everything have a purpose and a reference is very, very important. Social media, of course, and then play to their ego. using the sale to promote your brand. Millennials love to use social media and shout to the world. And on the flip side, they will also use social media to put your brand down if they didn't find your interaction satisfactory. So that's important as well. And then the overview. Okay, so millennials are the future. They're going to be the heads of corporations for the next 20, 30 years, you know. So they're very important. Let them be themselves, also a key fact. We have to figure out, as the leaders now, how to train them and let them be themselves, but still instill values that we have, such as quick decision making and planning and, you know, stuff the millennials might not be as good at. And down there at the bottom, have fun. That's the most important thing, I think. And that's my